Three, two, one. Welcome to the Lightforge. This is Aargh.
This is Merps. Strap yourselves in. We got quite a busy week. Lots to talk about.
So much to talk about in the arena.
Extensive arena update. All
You know
right,
how we
take it
all
away.
expected an arena rotation to either come or be announced? Well, nothing happened. So let's talk about Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
Um,
So to give you guys just a little bit more, Battlegrounds got one of the biggest updates it's ever gotten. This is since Dragons.
oh
And
yeah, this
Dragons
is
are like,
huge.
this is huge. And literally nothing about arena. We should
They
have gotten
also added
news.
like a single player campaign, really two single player campaigns.
Right. But Battlegrounds, not only did we get new content, uh, they introduced stuff to freshen up the game mode, which we'll talk about. They also announced a huge invitational $200,000 Battlegrounds tournament at the end of this month. We don't exactly know who's been invited yet. Spoiler alert, it was not us. It definitely wasn't Aargh, okay?
Hey,
It wasn't
I
me
would have been the
either.
biggest spoiler.
You would have been the biggest surprise. I would tell you that. But you can see they are definitely putting a lot of money into Battlegrounds. Literally, like a $200,000 tournament is nothing to sneeze at. But yes, we were also expecting news about an arena rotation because it should happen soon, or it should have happened.
It
But
should have
it's
happened
not.
last week.
Yeah, it should have happened, but it's not happening. And even a one-liner that says "arena news coming soon" or the rotation will be next month. I think that would have been at least something to grasp
The
for some
rotation
people.
will be never.
Yeah,
It's
but
entirely possible that they just don't rotate anymore and we're just back to standard arena and they just don't like tell anyone about it. That's like, I think if I were a betting man, I would put like 25% to 30% odds that that's what's happening.
yeah, definitely. Um, but we don't know. So until then, until they say anything about the arena, enjoy your Twin Tyrants, enjoy your Warriors, and that's it. We'll see. Anyways, that's all we can possibly say about the arena. So we got to move on to the Battlegrounds and talk about one of the biggest patches that has ever come out for Battlegrounds. We'll call it the Pirate Patch. Okay.
Yeah. But by the way, if you want like arena content from us besides the arena coop, we're probably gonna just be playing Battlegrounds until they do something in the arena. So our YouTube is going to have more Battlegrounds content. You may have already noticed, but we're gonna start uploading more number ones, including my number ones, which are much more exciting than Merps's number ones because
It's a
who
true underdog story.
it's
It
just
really is.
it's about entertainment and I feel like at over 10k, I'm almost 10.5k now without playing much. It's not a terrible meta, right? Like as long as I'm getting queued up with the top players, I feel like we're in the same meta. Even if I am held to very different standards than those guys, without having like a negative 20 like MMR bump every time I play a game. But okay, so that's what's happening on our YouTubes. So tune in. We're aiming to upload at least 3 per week from now on. 3 number one like BGs.
Yep.
And we'll go back to play, or I'll go at least go back to play Arena as soon as they do something to Arena. It's just it doesn't like I've really lost hope that they're gonna do anything with the Arena until the next expansion comes out. And even then, what I think they're gonna do to Arena is just like add the expansion in, not even like rotate anything.
I could see that. I mean, we've talked about before. It's like, how do you address the rotation issue with Demon Hunters,
Yeah.
right? Anyways, um, the first big thing that we want to talk about with this patch actually has nothing to do with new heroes or new minions. Battlegrounds introduced shifting minion pools. So what this is at the start of each ground of BGs, 5 of the 6 currently available minion types, which are beasts, demons, dragons, mechs, murlocs, and now pirates, will form the recruiting pool for that game. So only 5 out of 6 are available, which means one is taken out. Pirates are always available. So
Mm-hmm.
it's one of beasts, demons, dragons, mechs, murlocs that are unavailable. They'll tell you specifically which ones are available at the beginning of
They
the
will
game.
not tell you which one is not available.
No, so you have to figure that out. It's extra brain
No,
power.
it's terrible. Like, not that I'm doing that much on turn one, but like, oh my god, just like having to look at all those words repeatedly and figure out which one's missing makes me feel like I'm doing one of those like puzzles you get in the back of like a Waffle House or IHOP, like, whatever table thing setting
Yeah, it's a
thing.
mat. It's a mat. It's the
Yeah,
paper mat,
the
right?
paper mat there. I feel like I'm
Right.
doing that. Except it's like the same thing over and over again, and I keep like I don't get it wrong. I'm just always annoyed by how long it takes me to get it. Like I'm never like, oh, it's beast, and then I'm like, wait, no, I see a beast.
You
But
would actually have to be illiterate in order to make that mistake. So good, you are not illiterate.
pass the
Uh,
literacy test.
Past, yes. But yeah, I agree. It's annoying, and a lot of people are asking, it's like, well, why can't they also mention the excluded
Mm-hmm.
one, because that's the one that's important. To give you guys a little bit more detail on this, what happens is heroes designated with synergies around a specific
Yeah.
minion type will be excluded, along with corresponding minion types. So, what this means is if Murlocs are out, Flurgle is out. Can you play Flurgle without Murlocs? Sure, but that's out. If Mechs are out, Maleficent is out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
But Megasaurs
Additionally,
are also out if Murlocs are out, even
yeah,
though Megasaurs are a beast.
yeah, exactly. Just like how Wrathweaver, even though not a demon itself, is gone when demons are excluded because it's got no point, right? Just
Yeah.
like how Megasaur basically has no point uh, when you don't have
Hey, there
Murlocs,
was
even
that
though it's a
one
beast.
time that we had like four mama bears, and so we took a Megasaur because we needed a
Yes,
beast.
you needed a beast at the very end. And it grew with Goldrin,
And it
and it's fine.
survived, and it dealt 6 damage, and it was a great
Mhm.
pickup. But usually it doesn't do anything like that, so that's where it goes.
Yep.
It This is like one of the best things they could have done to Battlegrounds, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And
I
I
agree.
think most people's opinions, and I think it'll be even more impactful and interesting once they put out elementals, which is the only missing tribe. No, totems are not a tribe. Stop. You haven't done it in Twitch chat yet, but I can see it happening. But elementals are surely coming at some point, and then they'll be removing two of them, and so you'll have a much more dynamic kind of like RNG factor in all of it. It's almost like like getting a different stage each time, right, to do battles on. And
Yeah.
that like really is so good for the longevity of the game. I was talking about like kind of like trying to figure out what they were going to do with BGs and how they were going to keep up with BGs and keep it exciting, given how repetitive BGs were. Well, this just hugely knocked down the repetitive factor. Like now you can have an arena like schedule without getting into staleness. And that's something that I think Blizzard will have a much easier job keeping up with than if they didn't have some kind of like rotating system of some sort. And it's also like easy to remember, like you remember stuff in packages anyway. Like I don't think of Goldrin outside of a beast package. So it'll be easy to remember which things are in and which things are out, instead of trying to remember things like, oh, this expansion or something, right? Like, because those are arbitrary.
Yep. Goldrin does not go with beasts. Goldrin goes with parrots, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as
Hey,
well.
hey, are you saying parrots are not a beast?
They are a beast, but
Thank you.
beasts aren't even beasts anymore. It's really just about parrots, okay? But yes, I totally agree. I think this is a very elegant way. When we talk about solutions, we always focus on, okay, is this easy to understand? Is it elegant?
Mm-hmm.
And is that balance with because even if a solution is elegant, it has to be a good solution,
Yeah,
right? A
right.
fun solution. And this is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're absolutely correct. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Once we introduce more minion pools, and then we're taking out two, man, the complexity just goes through the roof, and the chances of you playing
It
the
gets
same
squared.
game, yeah, like you playing the same game, uh, like back to back, not even back to back, like once in 20 games, it's insane. Because even if things are excluded, you don't get the same here. Just everything goes out the window. Gone
Mm-hmm.
are the days in which you played Rafam in the same quote stage, as you will call it, right?
Yeah.
Now you get Rafam, and then you'll get Rafam in a different stage, and even if you pick Rafam again, chances are it's a different stage. So it just increases the amount of creativity and the
Mm-hmm.
amount of
like just
adaptation that you have to do.
reactiveness,
Yeah,
adaptation, like you said. Like that's what playing limited like card games is all about. The limited formats,
yeah,
right? The modes part of Hearthstone rather than
modes.
constructed. And this is a great way to introduce that kind of adaptability. Right now, there's basically 5 stages. Sorry, 4 stages. And it's pretty easy to memorize what each one does. But it's set up the groundwork for having a much more. This is like training wheels, right? Like once they put in elementals, then you're going to get like actual you're going to actually have to bring the skill. Right now, they're just introducing you to the system. Um, but yeah, it's so good. Oh, and there's another thing that they did to Battlegrounds that's insanely good. Now when your rat pops and gets buffed, it like pops and then gets buffed all at once, rather than like pop
Yeah,
one, buff one, pop one, buff one, pop one, buff one, and it like greatly speeds up that type of interactions. So
Blizzard
that's
continues to do things to try to optimize and make things
mhm.
faster. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you're just getting like a little bit of extra rope, and it's all very important. And as you'll see, rope is very much a relevant resource in pirates, as
Oh
well
my
as other
gosh,
ones.
yes. Okay. Let's talk about some of the actual new content. Now, we have a lot to discuss, but I want to start off by introducing the new heroes that you can select. Uh, the patch introduced,
Coronavirus.
I know, the patch introduced 4 new heroes, with one on the way on the 24th. I won't really talk about that. We can talk about that when it actually drops. And it also updated the Rat King. So the Rat King now actually has pirates within the rotating random hero power buffs, and it no longer starts with beasts, which is pretty cool.
And it doesn't have the ones that get excluded.
Yes,
So it's
which is very
usable.
good.
FYI. Because I thought
Which
he was unusable afterwards. I also thought Lightfang does the same thing. I thought Lightfang wouldn't buff pirates because they never announced it,
oh,
but it does. It's just an unannounced change.
right. Well, now Lightfang, instead of it just says like all friendly minion types.
Yeah.
So that also opens it up for elementals and
Totems.
totems. Okay, so let's go through the new heroes, and I will just briefly say a couple of things about the hero before we go open up to the meta discussion. The first hero is Captain Eudora. Captain Eudora has a 1 gold hero power. It's called Bury Treasure, and it says dig for a golden minion, and you start with 4 digs left. So what this means is,
Like you fail at your first 3 digs.
yeah, basically. But you're very consistent on your fourth one. You're very good
This is
at
this is
digging at
not
the
at
fourth
all
time.
how digging works.
Have you ever dug
I
for
did.
treasure? I know you've dug in your backyard,
I'm
but
like
you've
I've
never.
dug holes, like slave
Yeah, but
labor dug holes.
your goal was never for treasure, right?
Hmm.
You never had that mind. You never had that
No,
mentality.
no. I mean, I was
So
hopeful, but there was nothing.
no, there was never. So what this is on the fourth dig, and by the way, once you it cycles, and so once you dig up the treasure, it cycles back to 4. The golden minion is always a random golden minion of the tier or below that you're currently at.
Hmm.
So Captain Eudora gets you a random golden minion, and then you can play her
It
kind of a
it
little bit slow.
it's a
Um,
golden minion. It's not like one on the
yeah,
board. Like you get to play it out of your hand and discover
yeah,
something from the tier above. Like it's
yep.
real good.
So you at least get a discovery from the next tier, and then sometimes the minion that you actually dig up can be good.
Yeah, and for a
Uh,
total investment of just 4 gold.
yes,
Like that's like to
which is great.
discover a higher tier and the highest tier. Like you're putting in mana earlier on, but later on you're going to be at higher tiers, and so it's not that hard to set up for like a really good discover.
Yeah, and this, so you know, like it's already pretty good. Even if you get like a golden Mecharoo, you're like, okay, well at least I get to discover. And sometimes you get like golden Spawn of N'Zoth in the early
Hmm.
game. You're just like, oh, okay, I'll take this. This is actually a good minion, along with the discover, and it can really rocket you into the mid and late game. So that's Captain Eudora. pretty cool concept.
Okay, so what do
Second,
you do with Captain Eudora? Do you always dig, or do you only like squeeze in digs?
yes, you want to dig all the freaking time in at
Okay,
least
so
the
on
first few
turn
turns.
2, you do not level.
No, and I would say that if you get a token on the first turn, you actually sell the token in order
Just a
to
dig.
dig.
Ooh.
Yep.
I mean, that makes
Uh,
sense. It's an insanely powerful hero power.
it's insanely powerful, and because you're staying on tier 1 anyways, you lose the first one, but you probably
Yeah.
win/tie the second one because
Mm-hmm.
people are typically leveling up there. So you dig, and then you make sure you keep on digging.
Yeah.
And what you want to do is you need to at least be on tier 2 once you dig it up.
Yep.
Sometimes people want to be on tier 3 once you dig it up, and
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. And you catch up, right? You're slow, but you catch up on tempo
Yeah.
by digging up a gold minion. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how you typically
So
play
the thing
Captain
goes
Eudora.
like you buy a minion, and then you buy a minion and you do your first dig, and then you level up and you do your second dig, and then you buy 2 minions and then maybe sell a minion.
Wait, what do you mean level? You're not leveling up to 2 for a little bit.
Really? So you're not leveling for
Well,
2 even on turn 3? On turn 3 you're just like buying another minion and then
yeah, lots of times you're just buying another minion and digging. But
okay.
this is, I mean, things get weird because now you have like Swabby and things that, reduce your.
Okay.
But yes, generally you're sticking on tier
Yeah.
1. And then, like, what you want to do is you want to be on 2 by the time that you get the actual dig up, right?
Okay. I thought you
When
wanted
you
to be
actually
on
get the gold.
3 when you get the dig up. So you're
And
looking for a
you
time
can
to like
sometimes, but
go
you
to
want to be at
3.
least on 2. And I would say
Okay.
more often than not, you're still on 1 to digging the third time. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's Captain Eudora. Decent hero. Second hero is Captain Sky Captain Crag. 0 mana hero power can only be used once during the game, so be careful when you click. Uh, your hero power is gain 1 gold this turn, increases each turn. So on the very first turn, if you click it, and please do not, you gain 1 gold for that turn. If you wait until turn 2, it's 2 gold. If you wait until turn 3, it's 3 gold, so on and so forth. So you have this hero, it just has pop off potential. You have nothing that helps you in the early game at all, unless you use it early, in which please don't. Like, you're actively rewarded for waiting, right? This is the marshmallow
Mm-hmm.
test.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what you want to try to do, and it's hard for me to say specifically turns and
Turn
what
8.
gold, because yeah, turn 8, but then of course with Swabby, with all of this stuff. But yes, you want to wait until like you wait, not turn 8, you mean 8 gold, right?
No, turn 8.
That's a little bit late, I would say.
Really? Because turn 8 is when you can
Yeah.
naturally get to 5, and then you do it, and then you get 5 stuff.
Yeah, I would say that a lot of times you actually do it earlier, like 8, 9 gold, because you can get to 5 that way as well. You
Yeah.
can get to 5. And then you can get there earlier, like much earlier than other
Okay. But
people,
you get less
because
gold.
you get less gold, but just by being there earlier than other people, you get
Uh-huh.
like first picks as well.
Ah.
So
Okay.
I think it, but once again, um, because you activate his hero power like so quote late in the game when there's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of factors in play, I would just say that waiting. A general rule for him is like, if you can use his hero power to get to tier 5, cheat out and basically skip 4, go to 5. That's a pretty good use of it. And yes, the longer you wait, obviously the better it is. But I think a lot of people use his hero power to just sort of skip 4, go directly to 5, and find all those
Mm-hmm.
really good tech units to try to build your comp around. And that's Sky Captain Crag. Okay. Uh, let's talk about Patches, the third hero. I'm saving the best for last. Patches has a hero power that costs 4 mana. Crazy. It says get a pirate. After you buy a pirate, you can't discover it, by the way. Your next hero power costs 1 less. This is basically a pirate version of Flurgle, in a
A
way.
terrible pirate version of Flurry.
Yeah, yeah. It's better in the early game, like early game. About the same mid game and much worse late game, unless you hit the pirate dream.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so what this is if you are able to buy a pirate after you buy it for pirates, you can just click the hero power for free, and it gives you a free pirate. You have no choice. You don't get to discover it, but it'll always give you a pirate of your tier or below. Getting free stuff is good, but patches is obviously a little bit inconsistent. And buying pirates depends on how friendly and nice Bob feels on that day to give you pirates. So that's
although pirates are mostly good tempo in the early game, so
yeah, and also there is a good time to introduce this unit. There's a unit called Free Dealing Gambler. It's a tier 2/3/3 pirate, and this minion sells for 3 gold. So it's literally just like an advancement of your hero power if you are patches. For other heroes, it's a way to bank gold, right? It's econ. It's pure econ. It's a way to turn current gold into future gold. But for patches, it's even better than that because you get to advance your hero power. So every time you see that, you want to buy it in order to just further your hero power along. Now let's talk about the meta breaking hero, the best hero, and according to HS Replay, the hero that is head and shoulders above every other hero. There is, sort of a very good tiers with like Rafam and Daryl, which you will remember were the top. And then there is this hero, Captain Hooktusk. 0 mana hero power. You can use as many times as you want during the game, but only once per turn. Its hero power is remove a friendly minion, discover one from a tavern tier lower. What this means is if you remove on your side of the board a tier 2 minion, you just discover a tier 1. But if you remove a tier 1 minion, you'll discover another tier 1 minion, and that is where the problem lies, because Hooktusk is so good at, number 1, generating gold with tokens, because you play a token, you do that, and you can discover more tokens.
Like, what is that Malagos guy? He's okay doing it randomly, and this guy discovers.
Yeah, he discovers, and also you can never with Malagos turn a minion into 2 minions.
Right.
Yeah. With this, you can turn a token into another token generator that prints out a token. So you can just like print gold with this hero as well. And of course, Captain Hooktusk is amazing with tier 1 strats involving Rabid Sorlisks, Wrath Weavers, Selfless Heroes. And this hero is right now has an average placement of around 3.47 on HS Replay.
It's that bad? Like that? Like
yes,
tilted?
It's that bad.
Jeez.
Rafam is 3.99, so 4 flat.
Yeah, anything above 4 is pretty insanely good. Usually have a couple at like 3.8 something.
Yep. But Captain Hooktusk is so freaking good, so freaking good, that when people play her, and this is based on the tier 7 stats. So this is
HS Replay tier 7 is their like advanced like tracking system, and you're looking at top 20%, top 50%.
No, sorry, that was top 50%. I'm in the top 20% now. I'm sorry, guys. Captain Hooktusk is even better. When you actually put Captain Hooktusk in the hands of good players, because I wasn't logged in before, it's 3.39.
Wow.
Rafam was and Rafam and Daryl are and I'm just looking at current patch, over 4.03. So we're looking at a 0.6 differential. And with Captain Hooktusk, if you pick her, your chances of getting first place are higher than 25%. That's insane. That's actually insane. No one else comes close. So this data comes from people that are top 20%, which means 7.1k plus MMR. And I'm sorry, this is going to offend some people, but there are a lot of people at 7k who do not play her optimally. I'm sure I don't even play her optimally a lot of times as well. But the difference between me and a 7k player, I think, is pretty stark. So yeah, this just goes to show exactly how powerful Hooktusk is with the units in the game right now. So those are the new heroes. We have some interesting ones. we have some, like decent ones. For example, Captain Eudora is doing very well. It's a tier 2 hero. And by tier 2, we have Daryl, Rafam, Kael'thas, and then we have Eudora right
So
after
the
that. That's
old
great.
tier 1 heroes, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But tier 1 is only Hook Tusk, and if anything, it should be tier 1 Hook Tusk, tier 2 empty,
Yep.
tier 3 everyone else
Mhm.
beginning. That's how big the difference is, because that is how big the gap is. Like the gap between Daryl, which is leading tier 2, which is a 4.03, and the start of tier 3, which is Crag, which is a 4.56. That's smaller than the difference between tier 1 and tier 2. So yeah, it's like it's insane. Like there is no smooth slope here. There's Hook Tusk, and then it falls a lot, and then we have that smooth curve that people are wanting.
Yep.
So yeah, that is where we are. That is where we are at in terms of the heroes. Cool stuff, but we can talk about we can talk about pirates. I won't introduce all of the units individually. There's a lot. Okay, there's a lot of pirates that were introduced, but we'll talk about the meta. And whenever I do mention a unit, I'll summarize it for you guys. But of course, if you want to see all the units and you don't know them yet, you can always go to playhearthstone.com, and they have all of the units up on their blogs and on the official units page as well.
Yeah, so this is a pretty big hit to the meta, not just in terms of the hero pool, and that we have a new dominant hero, which you never want to see. That's not, like, I think at its height, some other previous heroes were worse, but this is around the level of, like, Millhouse before the nerf. And if you remember Millhouse before the nerf, people kind of hated that. In terms of the units, though, that's the one that, remember, this affects every single game because pirates don't rotate out. All the other minion types rotate out, but pirates do not. And they are kind of terribly designed all around. I'm not going to say they're all terrible, but there's like enough terrible units in there that the best meta would be a meta without pirates in them, and pirates are in every single meta. So it's a little unfortunate, and I was saying this before I even played it. I just looked at the designs, and I'm like, who thought this was a good idea? Like, it's part of, like, one of the strategies for pirates is literally like APM. It's like you can generate infinite coins and resources. Go do stuff. It's a little less wonky than your Khadgar brand combos because you don't need to worry as much about board space. But it's the same APM considerations, where to get the most out of it literally has nothing to do with your skill or strategy. It's once you get the setup, it's how fast you can click stuff.
I would say it's actually much worse design-wise than Brand Khadgar, because with Brand Khadgar, even though it requires APM, every single decision that you make with, like, decision 1 impacts decision 2, impacts decision 3. With pirates, it's just a lot of spam. So let's stop right here. Let me tell you guys exactly this strategy and what it involves. So this is, I would say, the strongest pirate build right now, because there's different builds.
Wait, so are you starting at the end game, or are you starting in the early game? Because pirates have
No.
kind of like.
Well, we're talking about this right now, so I just need to explain what.
Oh, so you're talking about the
of,
coin
yes.
generating build, whatever you call that.
What this build typically involves, it starts with Salty Looter, which is a tier 3 3/3 pirate, and whenever you play a pirate, gain +1/+1. It also involves Captain Hogger, a tier 5 6/6 pirate. After you buy a pirate, gain 1 gold this turn only. And these are the two things that are, you want to add in other pirates and everything. And then the sort of sidekick, not really a sidekick to this, but is South Sea Strongarm, which is a tier 4 5/4 pirate. Battlecry, give a friendly pirate +1/+1 for each pirate you bought this turn. So what this strategy involves in the late game, once you get everything going, once you've sort of set everything up, you have at least a golden Hogger, and preferably a golden Hogger plus a normal Hogger,
Hmm.
which means that if you have a golden Hogger and a normal Hogger, you are gaining 3 gold every time you buy a pirate. So that means every time you buy a pirate, once you sell it, you
Hmm.
are gaining +1 gold.
Which allows you
You
to roll
literally
once. So that means
yes,
you literally have infinite gold unless you find less than one pirate per roll.
yes.
Which you may, but you have 10 mana to work with.
Um, so I have done this a couple of times. I've gone infinite a couple of times with golden Hogger and normal Hogger. I have never ended a turn with less than like I don't know a 6-7 gold. It's the statistics are
Is the
so
last Hogger even necessary? Like,
yes
or are
if you
you
want to go super
APM?
infinite.
Yeah, but like, are you like APM capped that it's not worth having like sacrificing because it's just a 6/6 body?
If you have the it depends. Well, you get into board space issues. Like, do you have
Yeah,
something better to
yeah,
put in
right.
there? But yes, if you only have a golden Hogger, you could run out. I've run out before of gold.
Okay.
I mean, my turn is still very good, but I have run out. So what this strategy involves is because you're able to spam limitless pirates, you are buffing your salty looter by a ton, and because you're buying like 20, potentially up to 30 if you're fast enough, pirates a turn. Every time you buy South Sea Strong Arm, that's a huge buff. That's the
Yep.
biggest buff in the game. So you're buffing things by like 20/20 every time you buff, and because you're rolling so many times, you're going to be able to buy up quite a few South Sea Strong
And
Arms.
remember, if you ever run low on coins, you can always buy that pirate that gives you 3
Yep.
back, and then you're just printing extra ones.
Yes. So that is the uh, I'll say the gold printing pirate strategy, which is the most powerful pirate strategy, and the one that Adwicta was talking about in terms of the design space.
It is dumb.
It's dumb, yeah.
It's
Like I said, I've gotten it off twice. It is extraordinarily uncomfortable, not very skilled at all. Highly encourages you to Alt F4 every single turn,
mhm.
which that's not good. I don't do it because I don't want to do it. But I realized that if I do it, I would have approximately an extra 40 seconds to buff. And that's, I don't know, like 40/40 worth of stats
Yep.
when all things are, tallied up. And I don't know about you guys, but 40/40 stats is pretty good. So yeah, I just missed out on that. Like if I do not Alt F4.
So that's the most like WTF, and it's clearly designed into the game. This is not like, oh,
Yeah,
people were clever and found it. No, they put these pieces together to encourage you to do this exact thing. They tested this exact thing. They thought it was good. I don't know. I don't know what to say at that point. Hopefully, hopefully there's enough people who play Battlegrounds who think that that's as ridiculous as I think and we think it is, and not fun and not skillful. That there's enough pushback to change it, but I don't know. They haven't broken up Brand Khadgar, and they've just added this into it. So this
well,
may be
yeah,
a new direction for Battlegrounds, where they're just like, it's a legitimate strategy, just like design a build that's a pure APM test or a heavy APM test.
I would say that the brand Khadgar is very different and skill testing in a very different way. And I like brand Khadgar. I do not like this Infinite Pirate because if you're comparing brand Khadgar, like I said, the decisions impact each other when you're doing brand Khadgar. It's not spam. It's not a pure APM test. It's APM mixed with very important decision making. And if you mess up
Yeah, but
decision
it's
two,
APM gating. Like, I don't care if it's a pure APM test. If
sure,
it's
yes,
APM
yes,
gating, it's an invalid strategy in a strategy game.
sure. No, I understand. Like once again, I want to separate this out, right? It's like they're not exactly the same, and
Yeah,
this is
I'm not saying
why
they're exactly the same. I'm saying there's one
yeah, yeah,
characteristic that
yeah.
makes them both bad.
Of course,
Like,
and I'll say why I support one over the other, right? So, like Brand Khadgar is still, I think, it has at least some aspect of the soul of Battlegrounds in it. The soul of Battlegrounds, which is inherently, strategy, right? Kind of risk assessment. That's gone. It's just like like just spam as fast as you can, like break your finger joints. And I think we both agree that is not good for the game. Period.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think anything that's APM gating is terrible because it's a strategy game. If you have an APM gate on anything, all that's saying is strategy is subservient. You should have a strategy gate, right? You shouldn't have. I mean, there's always a strategy gate in everything because it's a strategy game. But once you put an APM gate, and it's not like an APM gate on a particular hero or something that you can avoid. This is a strategy that will just make players better and worse strictly based on their APM because you have to adjust to what's happening. This isn't. It's not like avoidable when it's like a superior strategy. Like these are top strategies, both Brand Khadgar and the Pirate strategy. Those are like top end game comps.
Yep.
And both of them get built on tier 5. So it's not even like an end game comp. It's very much like a late mid game kind of comp to get it started. So it affects almost every aspect of the game. In an unhealthy way. Now you've not only doubled it, but you've made it like dumber and easier to pull off. Like the pirate strategy isn't just like, oh, you don't have to think as much. It's also easier to set up than Brand Khadgar because you only need one tier 5 unit to like to start it going, and then you get more.
Brand Khadgar is actually easier to fall into than Hogger. Because Hogger, you need at least a golden Hogger.
Well, but you can start without a golden Hogger. You don't get infinite.
Sure, yeah, you can.
But you can start and do stuff with it. Whereas for Brand Khadgar, when you don't have the pieces, you're doing like a very weak thing.
Yeah, true. You can't fundamentally do it unless you have both Brand Khadgar or Golden Khadgar or et cetera.
So you're not like falling into it as much as here. You just kind of pursue your strategy, and then you'll hit it at some point, hopefully soon if you're lucky enough, and then you'll continue on your merry way and start printing money. But the strategy is similar even before you start printing money. You're just getting cheaper like units for your strategy.
Right. So let's talk about Pirates and sort of what the early game of Pirates, this idea of Pirates looks like, and when do you commit to Pirates? That's the most important thing for many builds. It's like when do you know you're a beast build? When do you know, etc.
So let's set two things aside from Pirates because this like Pirates edition also added 2 of the best cards in the entire game that are not Pirates and have no like somewhat synergistic with Pirates, but they're also synergistic with just about everything else. One is a cannon on tier 2, and the other one is a bird, which I think is also on tier 2.
It is on tier 2, inexplicably on tier 2. So let's go through these 2 cards.
Well, I would set them aside and talk about Pirates first, and then bring these 2 cards back in.
Okay, sure.
Because they have nothing really to do with Pirates.
Well, right, sure. But I do want to talk about Arcane Cannon for a second, right? That card
it's useful in Pirate though. It's like more synergistic with Pirates than other things. But
yeah, definitely. But this has definitely made the early mid game much more aggressive. Like your damage output is insane just by picking one of these up. It's a tier 2/2/2. It can't attack. It's also tagless, and after an adjacent minion attacks, deal 2 damage to an enemy minion. It's a mini soul juggler that works with everything, right? So as you can figure out, the damage potential just by picking one of these up is insane. Like tier 2 units, you don't expect that much damage output out of it, but this thing can pump out like 12 damage pretty easily.
Compared to the Boombot, which deals 4 damage, you just need 2 things to hit something and die. Yeah. And then you've matched it, and you have a board of 7 things.
Yeah, and you'd much rather have split 4 damage than a single 4 damage.
Yep. And your things may also like create tokens, which hit more things. Like it's a terrible design. It's got to be overpowered even when they're testing it. It's like one of those things where I don't know what they were doing with it.
So Pirates. I'm already getting ahead of myself. Pirates really focus on buffs within the battle, not really outside of the battle, although we certainly have ways to do that as we highlighted before. But in the early game,
Pirates have a card that gives +3 to all pirates, +3 attack to all pirates.
Yeah, but like we know fundamentally, health is where it's at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like buffs are not like if it's not a health buff, it's like it's and mechs, they don't buff a lot of health, but they have a ton of divine shields, which is like health in a
Yeah.
way,
So
right?
what
And
you
then they
just
can.
know about pirates fundamentally is they can't get divine shield, they can't get poisonous, they're just
Mhm.
dumb stats. But they're gonna get a lot of dumb stats. So they're
Yep,
like big demons.
they're big. Well, and demons get their stats outside of that. Pirates are all about
All 100, like, yeah.
attacking and rallying themselves and then buffing themselves within the battle, so when like in the early game, you might pick up some pirates, and they'll buff themselves a little bit. You might have Scallywag, which is a tier 1 2/1 pirate. Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 pirate, it attacks immediately. It's just good value for a 1 drop, and it works wonderfully with a cannon, right?
Mm-hmm.
You basically just get to attack twice with this, a split 3 damage, and also you get 2 hits off of the cannon. So it works wonderfully with the cannon. And I would say that the beginnings of a pirate build really start to like you can really start about, okay, well maybe I'm pirates, once you get to tier 3, because this is where a lot of the um, real pirates come in,
Yeah.
especially Salty Looter, the 3/3 that I was talking about
Because if
before.
you think about what the good pirates are before tier 3, the really good ones are the parrot and the cannon that we were talking about. And they work with everything.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say that the situation you find yourself in a game most often, while deciding pirates or no pirates, is if you have double salty looters, you're just so incentivized to buy up pirates anyways,
Mm-hmm.
that you're probably pirates. You're probably pirates, and you probably want to lean really heavily towards them, because each pirate that you buy is +2/+2, right? And then you want to search for the other salty looter, which makes you want to search for hoggers and everything. So in my 2 games, and I haven't played a lot of games, so if I've done the infinite pirate things like 2 out of the less than 20 games that I've played, like it's possible. Don't, because I know I'm talking about, it's like, oh, golden hogger plus this plus that, and it's not a 1 in a million thing. If you are playing correctly, if you are tilting yourself towards pirates, when you
Mm-hmm.
have pirates, especially salty looter, you can get there a decent amount of times. So that is, I think, the tipping point. So when you're at least on tier 3 and you have salty looters, that's when you can like look at yourself and be like, okay, well, I'm heavily incentivized to buy pirates. I'm gonna buy them, and let's favor this and see where it takes me. Just like with any other build, you might change your mind because Bob might like push you heavily in the other direction, but I have found myself in that situation, and then typically when you lean towards that, you get there in some capacity by buying up more pirates.
Yeah. So you're starting to take that tilt, like Merps was talking about, on tier 3. You'll also notice that on tier 3, tier 4, and tier 5, your pirates are not great tempo plays. They're either okay tempo plays or they're plays that will grow over time, and they're like, building blocks or potentially temporary building blocks to a pirate comp. But they're not like individually great, and you can't take like 2 of them and like make a really great combo. So
Yeah,
if you're looking at the weakness of pirates, that's the zone that it's weak in. And tier 3, 4, 5 is a really freaking large zone that pirates are weak in. So you'll feel a lot of times in the early game and the early to mid game that you're going to get beat down a lot more now than you used to get beat down, because people are going to use Arcane Cannon, and because random crap is going to happen with like the parrot like throughout, and because pirates in general are just pretty up tempo. They're not like they're not a Murloc type kind of like build, right? Which like totally dies in the middle before you get like your late game stuff. They'll hang in there. They're more comparable to beasts. They're like a little better spread over the course of the game than beasts, or like than old beasts. Now with parrots, beasts are kind of insane. But yeah. So something like we talk a lot about how great pirates are and how I don't know, kind of bullshit a lot of pirate strats are. But the takeaway, I don't want people to think that pirates are actually good,
yeah,
because they're not. Like, one of the number one things you should do is to try not to play pirates, unless you like kind of fall into pirates. Yes, they'll be there every single game, but one, a lot of other people want to do pirates because it's the new thing, so you'll have some competition. And two, they're just frankly not a top tier like comp. Mertz will talk more about the late game comp and what you end up with, but you'll see why. Like they're not the best late game comp, even with the infinite printing money comp. Like that doesn't succeed a lot of times. Like it
Yeah,
succeeds, but
so
if it doesn't succeed, you're left with a very crappy mid game comp that you're gonna have to try to turn into a late game comp. That's gonna be a weak-ish late game comp. Like
yep.
there's a lot of outs to pirates. You're never totally screwed, which is that's the one design element I like about pirates. But it's also never like, so don't think of it as being like super powerful. Like you have chances for your comp to become super powerful. If you're given opportunities, your comp could snowball into something ridiculous. But for the most part, it's very high rolly, and even if it weren't like high rolly, like it's just not like you're just better off doing like beasts or like like definitely beasts, but like also a lot of the other builds, the old school builds.
Yesterday, I had a game in which you can see it in the VOD. This is from Saturday, so if you're interested in seeing the Infinite Pirate, you can go there and see it. But I had a 230 Gold Grubber, a 160 Salty Looter, and I came in second. And no, it was not to Divine Shield Poison Murlocs. It was to Parrots, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yes, so it is something in which Aargh is correct. Do not heavily lean towards pirates. Like we've been in metas before in which, for example, the demon meta was hard force demons, right? We've been in metas like pre-recent metas in which it was lean towards murlocs, right? If you have a choice between kind of like a comparable unit versus a murloc, just go towards the murloc. It's better, and you'll win like that. Here, do not even lean towards
against pirates.
Yes. It's only if the game is really pushing you in that direction. And once again, the key unit is Salty Looter. Salty Looter makes pirates actually kind of worth buying. But if you are finding yourself, for example, on tier 4, you don't have Salty Looter yet, and you're looking at some pirates, don't go for it. Yeah.
Don't even go for a Salty Looter if you're on turn 4. If you're on tier 4 already. Like
yes. So that is the assessment of pirates. It's not that great right now. And especially part of the reason is because, like I said, the scaling outside of battle is pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
And you can see from the tier 6 units, pirates have 2 tier 6 units. One is Dread Admiral Eliza. It's a 6/7 pirate. Whenever a friendly pirate attacks, give all friendly minions +1/+1. It might as well just say give all friendly pirates +1/+1 because it's like you want a board full of pirates anyways. Once again, no actual scaling. It's not like Mama Bear that helps you scale outside of battle or Calgos. This thing is only inside of battle, so it doesn't really help you with end game scaling.
Yep.
And then we have Twitch chat's favorite new meme. It's called the Tide Raiser, but it's really called Boat. So Boat is a 6/4 minion, no tag. Death Rattle, summon 3 random pirates.
Again, no scaling.
Yeah. The problem with Boat, other than the fact that it is apparently the best card in the game,
like honestly, imagine if you had no synergies with anything. Would you take that or a gas coiler? Zero synergies.
The gas coiler is like still it's spacing issues. It's always it goes down to spacing issues. I'd probably put the gas coiler earlier on, like especially if I have beast or especially I have like because your chance of getting a Goldrin, your chances of getting like a spawner
no synergies,
or something,
no future synergies, just pure tempo determination.
Just pure tempo, all of that stuff.
Yeah, imagine you don't have spacing issues too. Like imagine you don't have like so many like tokeny things that are worth it, right?
Okay,
like,
and I don't have any spacing issues.
Yeah, just imagine you don't have spacing issues.
And also, do I need to high roll?
Like assume you want the average to be high. So you don't need to high roll. It'd be nice if you high roll, but like normally, right? Like you're not like super behind.
I'd still take the Coiler because it has more like because then it's about the same, but then the Coiler is better like for the next battle. Depending on what I'll do. Boat has no applicability with any build.
Right.
Sadly, it doesn't even fit into any pirate builds.
Hey,
so
it's a high rolly pirate build.
No, not really.
Nope. You haven't had one
Nope.
that generates a million of those +1/+1 things and then hit a whole bunch of stuff and then
No, because the problem is when you're doing this, you want. The problem is this thing doesn't have a pirate tag, right? So when you are doing all
the
these
boat
buffs,
doesn't have a
these
pirate tag? I didn't even know that.
Yes, it's not a pirate itself. So all these in battle buffs that you're
Man.
getting with Eliza and you're getting with Seabreaker Goliath,
So
I'll introduce
picky.
that as well.
Cannons
Tier
aren't
5s,
pirates, parrots
six-
aren't pirates,
Yeah,
boats aren't
tier
pirates.
5, 6, 7 pirate, Wind Fury, and whenever you overkill, give your other pirates +2/+2. The problem with the boat is that you can't put it near the front because you have space issues. And if it's in the back, it doesn't get buffed. And all these pirates that pop out, it's not like they're getting the buffs while inside of the boat. No, they pop out fresh. And when I mean fresh, I mean weak as shit. So that's really the problem with the boat. And they need to change something. I think Eliza is fine because
Eliza's
you know,
terrible. Like, as in, it's fine, but at tier
Right, it's
6, you
fine.
need more than fine. Like, fine is not good on tier 6. It's
Yeah.
fine and it's not splashable. So it's terrible. It's just like, this is what I mean with pirates. Like, there is an end game. It's not like you're doing shooty demons and then you get to the end. I don't know. Even shooty demons has Imp Mama, and that's pretty damn good. I would say that's better than Eliza. But like you have something there for you in the end. But it's not great. But you can still get there. So if you're in that place where you're like trying to move into an end game, you're not dead ended. Like it's like if you're Beast and you get to a point where you're like, oh, Mama's not even worth it, you're dead ended. You can't do anything anymore as Beast before parrots were a thing. Like that doesn't happen with pirates, which is the most similar to beasts in terms of how their progression goes in that like valley in the middle.
Mhm.
So you have somewhere to go, but it's not particularly good, and that's kind of the main problem with pirates. Like if everything goes perfectly, yeah, you'll have a pretty nice comp at the end, but you have way more setup than you should to get to where you get to, which you'll still be outclassed by a whole lot of other endgame comps. I had a Eliza once, from a shifter, like I don't know, tier 3 or something, right? Like I got it immediately. I played it. I built a pirate comp. It may not have been the most sophisticated pirate comp, but I just lost a lot. Like you figure if you get a tier 6 minion that works with all the stuff you're putting on your board, right? Like I imagine if I got like a Caligos or something, right? It would take 2 turns and it would be destroying everybody. But with an Eliza, it's just. I mean, I think I limped to like 4th or something, and it was like fine. But I got a scalable tier 6 minion on tier 3, and I had to limp to like 4th place. Like that's not. It's just not a super powerful unit.
No, definitely not. And that is sort of the main issue with pirates right now. So, all right. Now that we've introduced pirates, we've talked a lot about this. Let's expand a little bit and talk about the meta. And talk about that unit that we've been avoiding for a while.
Before we hit that unit, I wanted to say one more thing about the strategy with not doing pirates. Other people are still going to do pirates. This means right now, and also pirates hit really hard in the beginning, and everyone hits really hard in the beginning now because there's a cannon. So people just hit really freaking hard. Like I've lost like 12 to 15 health in the early mid game very frequently, and so has everyone else. And when that happens, you just need to not die. I'm going to re-emphasize the strategy of not dying because I gained like I don't know 200-300 MMR when pirates were released by basically just not playing pirates and not dying. You'll still eventually die, but remember, pirates have a meh kind of end game. Maybe one pirate will high roll, but really more you're going to worry about the birds later on. But if you don't die, you will get very far in this meta, actually, because pirates are very high rolly, which means they're going to knock other people out, and they themselves do not morph into endgame monsters either. So you can still keep up with them, as long as you're trying to keep up with them and not trying to do fancy tier 6 strats.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about the actual meta. And when we're talking about the actual meta, it's just one card. I mean, all right, it's also rapid sword lists, but we talked about sword lists before
Hmm.
and why they are problematic slash whatever. And we talked about hook tusk. So we need to talk about the thing that was introduced that is really just defining the meta, which is Monstrous Macaw. It's a tier
Oh, is
two,
that what the
three,
parrot's
two
called?
beast.
I,
After this attacks, trigger a random friendly minion's death rattle. Um, Now, what this means is immediately, this already is, if you have a spawn of N'Zoth, this is a spawn of N'Zoth. If you have a bomb, this is a bomb. Now, the
but you
problem
can't have
comes,
other death rattles because when it attacks, it summons it. So if you have other death rattles, you need to create space for it first,
yeah,
and then it may
uh,
die. Right? It may get sniped before it attacks. I'm
right.
talking about
So
early game here.
the problem with the Monstrous Macaw is it is a cheap unit, readily found unit that is able to proc a lot of expensive death rattles, such that the game was not supposed to, be like you're not supposed to get as many of them. The biggest example is Goldrin.
Yep.
Goldrin, as you remember, is a tier 5 4/4 beast, and death rattle give your other beast +4/+4. So
Parrots
what
are beasts.
Parrots are beasts. So
They
one
are
of the
not
most
pirates.
powerful, if not the most powerful endgame comp, is actually buying up all the parrots you get, teching in a Baron, getting one or two Goldrins, and getting like one or two Hydras with one taunt at the end. And that destroys. And if you are able to golden the Baron and or the Goldrin, you just have a board that at the start of the battle looks like it's just a collection of 3 2s and 4 4s and 8 8s and 2 4s, and ends up being literally 100 beasts by the end of the battle. And the problem with this are two things. Number one, the amount of gold you have to sink into this build is ridiculously low.
Hmm.
Like you are going to beat, for example, someone that spent 8 turns buffing up their dragons. um, they went dragons from the beginning. They devoted to dragons. They even got the Nadina, for example, and they have like 50/50 dragons at the end with Divine Shield, and that's cute. Um, they will lose to someone who spent 2 to 3 turns, but 2 to 3, very lucky turns, getting the Goldrins and the Barons, and who started off with like a couple of Macaws, and there was no chance. There was no chance at all. And number two, this Macaw or Parrot build has increased and really amplified the importance of going first, because
Hmm.
if you go first as the Parrot build, uh, immediately your board gets much beefier. It's more resilient to attack. And this is amplified in the Parrot versus Parrot matchup, in which the Parrot player who gets to attack first always gets the advantage now. Because if you can imagine it, both of them start off with really small, dinky units. The first Parrot attacks in, everything is huge. So the second player is always playing from behind. Like they're attacking into like a huge wall. They're getting a little bit bigger, but then the other player becomes bigger. So the second player is always attacking into bigger units than they have. And because so many people are using this strategy, because of how powerful it is, because of how accessible it is, um, it really makes whoever goes first in the Parrot matchups win. And there's
Hashtag
not much you can
Illidan's
do.
time to shine.
Yeah. So it's annoying, I will say. It's gotten to the point where a lot of people are buying up Macaws even without any death rattles because they just know the power of this build and they say, I don't even need to spawn right now. I'm picking up Macaws, and I'll figure out the death rattles later, but I want to set myself up for that monstrous, no pun intended, end game build. And it's bad. It's really annoying, because if the meta is full of tier 1 and tier 2 strats, even if these don't mean exactly staying on tier 1, tier 2, if hook tusks are just dominating people with Wrathweavers and Soralisks, which are on tier 1, and everyone else is dominating people on by having Macaws. And I know Barons and Goldrons are on tier 5, but once again, we don't have to devote tons. You just have to find them on tier 5, and you're set. Then it makes the meta just pretty not fun. And it's like I'll say this: this build is so good, it's made Illidan into a decent hero. You guys remember Illidan and how bad Illidan is? Turns out if you're playing Macaw build and you can guarantee the first 2 attacks, sometimes 3 attacks, you win literally every single time. Nothing beats you. You can't do anything. So it's even made Illidan into a decent hero. Crazy.
So, in case you're wondering, go beasts, because parrots work best with beasts, and parrots are the best. And parrots are the cheapest. Best, synergizes with one of the most easy to build around, tribes.
Yes. And I wouldn't even call it beast, it's just parrots.
Well, fine. But it's it's Goldrun too. And parrots are a beast.
It's Goldrun and it's Baron, but really it's parrots.
Mm-hmm.
But it really does make things like, to me, it breaks one of the the fundamental kind of concepts of Battlegrounds as well, in which I think there should be ways for players to come back or to spend less resources, but to get a little bit more. I think, for example, Battlemaster is a great example, right? Mm-hmm. That's a great sort of comeback, and it's a great way to be like, well, you're behind. I think Battlemaster is very elegant. It's like you're behind, so you should be able to try to come back in some way. So Battlemaster, I think, is a very elegant way to do that. But this strategy of just sort of dumbly buying this tier 2 unit, trying to hit the Baron, trying to hit the Goldrun, and then in order to beat other players who are inevitably going to go with this strat, not really enjoying it. I was watching Dog's stream, and I think he had the perfect sort of illustration of this. What he would do, because then with this strategy, once you have some pirates, once you have like a Baron or a Goldrun, all you're doing is rolling on tier 5 for more Goldruns, more Parrots, and more Barons, more Goldruns, and more Parrots. So like he would just roll and then like imitate like pulling a slot machine. And then he would roll and imitate pulling a slot machine, because that's all it is. Like the strategy has gone past that point as well. It's just like, okay, well, here's my end game build. It's full of 3-2s and 4-4s. And I just need more of these 3-2s and 4-4s.
So once again, think about how weak you are if you don't hit the slot machine. And everyone, not everyone, but like at least half your lobby is trying to hit that slot machine. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them aren't going to hit it. So if you just don't go for it, you're fine. You're going to be okay. Just be happy with that 4th. They'll knock each other out because some of them will hit it. And then you just have to have a little bit more life than the other people who are getting hit really hard, because they've committed a lot of resources to this like slot machine that you need. Like, I mean, you really only need like 2 of them to like really like kind of like be okay, but 3 of them dominates, right? But they still have to commit to these parts at asymmetrical times. And these units are all pretty damn bad without at least one of the other units. So some of the people going for them are going to totally fail, get hit hard, die. Some of them are going to hit it, beat everybody. So if you are not in position to hit it, if you're trying to go for this unit from scratch, basically, like you're better off just going for 4th. Because you're putting yourself at a lower odds than everyone else who's rolling for the same thing. And remember, when they pick out one of these units, that means there's less to roll for you. So you don't have to get there first, but if you think you're getting there like towards the bottom half and you have like something else going on, that's not to say like, yes, this is the optimal strategy, but like you missed it. Like don't fight this battle. Like this is the strategy of the people who happen to get it, right? Because Blizzard sometimes gives you the good cards, and the people who are desperate. Like, if you're gonna die anyway, you might as well just roll for the chance to, like, have an awesome build and, like, live and, like, go to the end game. But this is not the strategy for the people in that middle zone who don't hit it but are otherwise okay. Like, just because it's the most dominant strategy. And it has relatively low commitment.
Yeah. So that's where we're at right now. I think if you go look at the forums and Reddit, a lot of people are very, very frustrated by the Sorreless strats and the McCall strats. I hope that they do something soon as well. I know it's only been less than a week, but we already see how annoying these strategies are.
It's not just
And
annoying, it's bad for the game.
it's actually bad for the game.
Like, it's
Yeah.
bad for the strategy of the game. I don't know who's having fun with it. Like, Parrots were cool
Yeah.
the first time I played it. I was like, oh, this is busted. Like, even as I was playing it. And
It's
then
busted.
it's busted.
Yeah.
It cannot be balanced as long as Goldrin is in the game. It is hard to balance even without Goldrin in the game.
Right. It's like, because the problem it's like part of the reason that Goldrin is a tier 5 unit is not only because of how powerful it is, it's like you're not supposed to get that many of them.
Yeah,
Wizard
exactly.
doesn't want you to get that many of them because then the game is just like you can't keep on giving +4/+4 buffs
Mhm.
to things, especially with Baron, right? But what do you do if you move Goldrin to tier 2? Well, this is even better. You're actually increasing Goldrin. You're making Goldrins effectively more common than tier 1s by far. Like they are
Mhm.
like a tier 0 unit.
Yep.
Like delayed in the game, but now you are making Goldrin a tier 0 unit effectively because you're just adding all the natural Goldrins in the pool with
Mhm.
all these artificial Goldrins
Yep.
that are much easier to make gold, by the way. So with McCall's, it'll trigger it twice, and then with Baron, it'll trigger it 4 times. So with the
And
Goldrin, it's
Goldrins have to
insane.
die. And these don't
Yeah,
have to die. So they're
yeah,
a
these
little
don't
more
die.
secure than Goldrins. You don't have to taunt them up or anything.
Yep. So this is why you'll see people posting images of like they're winning compositions, and it'll start off as like a 6/4 parrot, but and the victory screen, their parrots are like 130, 130s because of all of these ridiculous buffs that they get. So that's where we're at. We didn't even mention the fact that they took away Holy Mackerel,
Oh,
which
yeah, it's no impact
I'm
on the game.
yeah, which very happy. Which it should have been very liberating, and it is. Like if you guys know, I've always spoken out against holy mackerels. I did not believe that they were great for the game, but at least holy mackerels were a tier 6 unit
Yeah.
that could not be duplicated in some stupid way as well. So yes, I was annoyed at holy mackerel. Yes, them removing it is good, but please do like this is the thing, right? It's like, okay, cool, you remove that, and then you added a very problematic card on tier 2, and you amplified the problems of Sorreless, which were problematic before, but with this
Mhm.
new hero and with the aggressive playstyle as well, a lot of people who aren't just Hook Tusk are defaulting to Sorreless strats
Because
in order to
remember,
survive the early
how do
game.
you survive these pirate stuff and how do you survive these parrot stuff? You wait for them to take everyone else out and you kill the people who don't hit it. And you kill
Yeah.
the pirates in that mid game who are there. And what strat does that work with perfectly? Soralisks.
Yes, definitely. So that's kind of it. Like you will see a ton of people in lobbies before because you might just say, okay, well, I should expect a Hook Tusk in my lobby and I should expect the Hook Tusk to go Sorreless. So just, on average, maybe like, and because Hook Tusk is picked, I think like 70% of the time, according to HS Replay,
Mm-hmm.
you can just say, okay, well, because of that, I should see zero point 0.7 more heroes go Sorreless. No, because of the meta change, you're going to see a ton more heroes go Sorreless every single game because that's the way to combat this
Yep.
aggro. And that's the way to transition. Like, you want to combat the aggro in order to get to the higher tiers. So you're going to see a ton more Sorreless. So going all the way back to the beginning and how we praised Blizzard for introducing the shifting minion pools because it opens up the game and it makes games feel very, very different. Well, because of the heroes and because of the cards and because of the specific meta, the games feel so similar now.
Yep.
So they introduced something which should have opened up the game significantly and made games feel extraordinarily fresh. But what happens is that the games feel so similar in the most boring ways. Like the early game is so eerily similar, and the late game is so similar and 50-50 coin flip based on who goes first and hits with the parrot first, which is very ironic because, like, both of us agree that the shifting minion pools is a great idea, and it really should have created this concept where I'm trying to figure out. I'm like, okay, if Murlocs are taken out,
Yeah.
what are small techs
Hmm.
that I can do? If dragons are taken out, what are small techs? None of it matters right now, unless beasts are excluded.
Yeah.
Every game feels the same. It's lizards and parrots, and it's like who can get the Goldrin, who can make it out of the early game, and that just can't be healthy for the game. It's not.
Yep. It's and hopefully they'll fix it quick. And this won't be like Millhouse where they just let it hang for a month and a half for no reason, even though everyone knew it was broken, and it affected every game. So if you want to know like how you can possibly balance the parrot without removing one of the pieces of it. So first of all, the issue is not necessarily Goldrin. I think the issue is just the parrot. You could take out Goldrin and the parrot will still be a problem. It will be less of a problem, but it'll still be a problem because the fundamental design of that ability itself has to exist on tier 4 or above in
Yeah,
Battlegrounds for it to be balanced. That's just the fundamentals of how scaling, like how much you can scale the death rattle that it can trigger multiple times. Like I don't care how big you make the minion or like how small you make the minion. It's gonna cause problems purely because of the ability. And this is like you can always there's the way of balancing. I call it the dumb way of balancing, which is how almost all card games are balanced right now. And that's like, hey, let's create the best deck. Okay, now let's make sure no other decks are better than this deck. Okay, now we have a balanced game. That's literally the trial and error method of balancing. And anytime you move one element in that game, everything's fucked. Because you've literally just balanced it to one thing. So if you're creating a game that will never be changed, fine. Right? Like, that's a totally legit way to create a game. But all these games that keep having iterations are still being balanced by that method. Which means anytime something comes in, it's gonna mess with things. And it means you need to like really know your fundamentals. And somewhere someone in Blizzard, a lot of people in Blizzard, just did not care about the fundamentals here, or somehow did not know that this was violating a pretty fundamental like value creation system into this card.
yeah,
It needs to be tier 4 if you want this ability to exist in the game at all. I think what Blizzard's gonna do is just to take it out of the game. But even if they move it to tier 3, it's not gonna make that big of a difference. Like it's not gonna all of a sudden balance it. Even if they take out Goldrin, it's not gonna all of a sudden balance it. And if it does make it more balanced, it'll just be whatever next Death Rattle unit gets released that'll unbalance it again with the parrot. The problem is the parrot, and hopefully Blizzard gets on that.
yeah. To go more into a design philosophy as well, like you solve some issues. You solve some issues by putting it to tier 4, but you still limit yourself heavily on future death rattles that you print out because whatever like really strong death rattle you print out, um, you always have more readily available copies on tier 4.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at it, it's like, would it help the Goldrin situation? Yeah, it would help a lot because you're not putting as many Goldrins into the pool, right? And then you can't
Yeah.
start it off as early. So yes, it would definitely help out the situation. But if you want to look at it and say, okay, well, we can keep it, but the longer we keep it, the less likely, we're able to print out powerful death rattles, whatever they may be. Is it worth it, right? Because
Right.
whatever death rattles you put in, you have to say, okay, but here are a lot of extra copies of the death rattle in the game. Do I want that or not? And especially if we want powerful death rattles on tier 6, that's where it gets like dicey, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yep.
okay, do I want a tier 4 minion that copies tier 2 death rattles? Maybe, in some situations that'll be worth it for the player, but I think typically we're okay with that copying tier 5s, ugh, man, whatever.
Copying tier
But
4s is even okay. It's when it starts
yeah,
copying
exactly.
above it that it starts being bad. The problem with it right
Yeah,
now is that it's copying Goldrin, which buffs itself and then makes it
with
harder to die. And then so
exactly.
that's an extra problem with Goldrin. I recognize that, but the whole mechanic, it just you can't control it without at least putting it on tier 4. Not because it delays when it can start, but because the number in the pool needs to reach a level of scarcity before it can be possibly balanced with any death rattle that like it's not constrained by something else like board space.
Yes.
And of course, you could also get rid of Baron at that, but I just assume Baron will always be in the game.
I assume Baron will be in the game because it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. It's not overpowered by any means normally. It's just it depends on the power level of death rattles, but a lot of death rattles spawn stuff, so you have spacing issues. I think Baron is fine right now. But yeah, the parrot is definitely very problematic for now and for the future. And Blizzard has to see this in its current
Mm-hmm.
state that the parrot is problematic. I can't imagine because look, I'm complaining about the lizard as well. I can see them keeping lizard, and I would just be like, okay, I don't love it, but I can see the reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
Parrot is so
It's just like,
problematic
why
for
would
the
you have
game.
something that super limits your design in the future? Like, you're
Yeah,
gonna have to
yeah,
remove it at some point anyway. So I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. Goldrin also looks like something that's to stay. It's like a special unit, that they made for Battlegrounds. That's like a anchor of what beasts should be, or like one of the paths of beasts.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know. Um, I think we will not see Parrot much longer in the game.
I hope not. I really hope not because the patch hasn't even been out for a week. This should be a time in which I am really looking forward to playing it. And I played a decent amount this week. And I've streamed a decent amount. Well, for me, I've streamed a decent amount this week. And I'm really not having that much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because I'm losing MMR. I think I'm actually up like a little bit of MMR. It's just the swings, the monotony. I can't believe I'm saying this less than a week into a patch, but the monotony of it is just getting to me as well. So I do hope Blizzard brings very swift change, and we'll be talking about the changes next week, hopefully. But I don't
So
know.
they are not doing anything for Arena. They screwed up BGs. Come on, Blizzard. Come on. Us modes players needs you to give us something. I really hope they fix Battlegrounds quickly, or at least like release the Arena rotation that they should
Yeah.
release. I just don't know why we have no information on that. And no one does. There's a there's a pretty funny post on Reddit right now on the main Hearthstone one, just about what the hell is happening to Arena. Um, it's it's just where it is, right? Like Blizzard hasn't been shy or deceptive about. They're not hiding anything about where Arena's going this year, which is nowhere.
It's just nowhere.
They're,
Yeah,
they're
right.
like,
They previewed the
hey,
fact that we're getting that new limited mode, right?
mm-hmm,
Um, and that's it.
no,
And if you see what they have done slash not done, you will see that I don't know if the writing's on the wall, but they're certainly not like gonna introduce something that will supercharge the arena anytime soon.
yeah. Like this
Um,
is the Arena is one of those things where they'll see what happens, and then maybe next year they'll put some resources in, which means maybe towards the end of 2021, Arena will get a update to make it relevant again.
yep.
That's
So,
that's the most optimistic Arena timeline, unfortunately.
yep, definitely.
Of course, Arena always exists. You always play it. It's not like actually dead, but you're not going to get a lot of attention to it. And the good part about Arena is that for the most part, it survives quite well without too much being like done to it. Like it's one of the most pure versions of limited Hearthstone. So so it'll be like not dead, even if they just never touch it. But we shouldn't expect them to touch it.
Nope. We definitely should not. Okay.
All right, so that's it for us. This is the Lightforge, and until next time, this is Adwicta.
This is Merps. See you guys.